Grace. As I'm doing all this and also try to speak slowly. It's a lot of brain cells working right now. Welcome to World Farmers Markets Coalition October Studio on participatory certification, more generally called, or participatory guarantee system, PGS. We have very exciting program for you today. I am going to share screen without much ado. 1 second. Okay, there we go. Can we see our screen? Yeah, okay, great. All right, so we, generally we have experts among us, among our members who come and share their learnings, their experience with us. Today is a special day where we have Flavia Moura Castro. She is an external speaker. I mean, she's one of us, but she's really somebody we recruited from outside. She's an expert in PGS. We met her at Slow Food Terra Madre 2 years ago, and then again last month. And generally at the last studio in September, we heard our folks talking about, how to ensure direct selling at farmers market, and how do we work with our farmers to empower them to be able to do that. All those questions came up, and PGS and participatory certification was mentioned as a very, very important component of all of this conversation. So we decided to bring Flavia and have our member and our partners, Mark. For this session, we got Mark Ferez Weinberg and Victor Flores, our friend from Brazil and Mexico, here to share their stories with us. 1 second. Okay. Quickly, community agreements. I know that everybody is very busy. We appreciate you being here today. The 1 hour that we're gonna spend together, let's be present. Let's really engage ourselves with one another. And because we come from all over the world, we have different, multiple viewpoints. Let's welcome and honor them. And let's hold our judgments and disagreements very, very softly. We will trust everybody's intent that is good and positive, but we also acknowledge impact that might land on some of us. We will listen intently to learn, and we will ask to understand. We will make space and take space for for ourselves when need to. We only have 1 hour. We could talk hours on this topic, but it's a short time. So let's keep our comments brief. And lastly, everybody here will. Well, it's really just me. Speak slowly because we have Spanish interpretation happening. Thanks to Umbra, who's with us today. Flavia Moura Castro, as I said, she's a very interesting multi-identity person. She's from Brazil, but we in Germany, but I met her in Italy. She has been working in this PGS participatory approaches of all things for a long time, and she not only advises on the PGS, but she also helps with capacity building, knowledge development, and other things related to it. She worked for iPhone, I think that's how you say it, Organic International, which is where the PGS, Participatory Guarantee Systems standards originate from. But again, that is not the only standard we're talking about, as you will hear today. And she's here as our guest and friend and as an independent consultant, and where she will share with us her experiences collaborating with smallholding farmers and their families, researchers, and organizations around the world to strengthen PGS initiatives in building trust in our community and towards a sustainable food system. So we cannot wait to hear from her. But before we do that, also want to introduce Mark Ferez Weinberg. Born and raised in Rio, Brazil, a great partner to Junta Local, Tiago's market. We will share the slides with you so you can see everybody's bio in more detail. But he's been doing this PGS work since about like 20 years ago, and he's been a manager of this local PGS system specifically for the last 4 years. Certified ecological farmer since 1994. That's a long time in the mountains of Rio de Janeiro state. We have a lot of exciting experiences to learn from him today. Welcome. And Victor, our friend, he is, I think a lot of you know him, permaculture enthusiast and food sovereignty advocate for the last 14 years plus. He's the founder of our favorite market in Guadalajara, Feria de Productores. And he's been doing this participatory certification work that is slightly unique and localized from compared to PGS. But he's here to share with us his experience in making this accessible not only for the farmers at his market, but also for the shoppers and consumers. So we will, without much ado, we're gonna hear from him directly. So Flavia, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Great. Thanks again, Robin, for this introduction. Thank you all for joining us today. I just wanted to make sure everyone is listening well. I think someone has an open mic. I can hear a dog. I don't have dogs. I love dogs, but I can hear one right now.
Yeah. Oh, good point. Yes, please make sure that you're muted if you're not talking, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I going to start to go straight into the topic, and please let me know, those of you that are using Spanish translation, let me know if it's working well, yeah, that I'm not speaking too fast. So participatory guarantee systems, or PGS, I like to use the acronym just because it's shorter, or participatory certification. They're exactly the same thing. Participatory certification is the term that used to be used before people actually came up with this idea, with this concept of PGS. What they are, this is what I'm going to address. Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about what they are not, where they are practiced, and very briefly, how PGS are implemented. And then we open up the discussion, bring in Mark and Victor. So PGS are basically quality assurance systems. You can also say certification systems or approaches to ensuring a specific kind of guarantee. Yeah. So in that sense, they are composed of three basic things: a set of standards, and by standards, I mean agreed upon rules. So a set of rules, we could also say it like that. Then a process or different steps, no, to check that these rules are being followed. A specific one in PGS is peer review. Yeah, so we have a set of documents and we have a specific process, which is peer review. I suppose many of you are familiar with that idea, that people that are in similar situations, they check on each other's work with a view of improving their work. And then the third component there is a logo or a visible graphic element, or a way to communicate that these rules exist, that we check that they are being followed, and that this means something for us as a group. No? So we'll see it in a bit. We always start from a group of people coming together so that a PGS actually exists. I have the definition of PGS there that was adopted by IFOM Organics International in 2008. I like this definition a lot, first of all, because it doesn't refer to a specific kind of guarantee. It doesn't talk about, for example, organic standards, although IFOM is an organization promoting organic agriculture and agroecology. But you can see in the definition there, participatory guarantee systems, or PGS, are locally focused quality assurance systems. So they are certification systems that are really territorial, yeah, or they are really rooted in a specific territory and serving a community that's within that territory. They certify producers and also processors. I added that. This is not in the definition, but it's important to include it too. Based on active participation of stakeholders. And here we use the term stakeholders to mean producers, consumers, people involved in rural extension services, NGO staff, people that support rural development in different ways, but also pretty much anyone that is involved in food systems, yeah? And PGS are built on a foundation of trust. It's an integrity-based approach. Social networks, the way this different people that are coming from different basically networks, how they relate to each other, how they interact, and knowledge exchange. So it's a continuum of generating knowledge to grow together. And I like to refer to collective intelligence as something that emerges from these interactions. So we can move to the next slide, and then we talk about what participatory guarantee systems are not. First of all, they are not owned by any specific organization, any set of individuals. There's no trademark. There's no one organization in the world that can define and say what is a PGS and what is not. Although IFARM Organics International has been doing a lot of work and developing a framework and collecting information on PGS initiatives that refer specifically to organic agriculture, yeah? But there's no need, for example, to say I will get PGS accreditation unless, if we're talking about organic agriculture, there is a specific regulation at the state level. We will see a little bit of that when we talk about Brazil and Mexico, because that's the case in both countries. But basically, anyone can start a PGS initiative and make it fit the specific situation where people are going to be interacting. Yeah? So, as I said, PGS are not always accepted, no? Depending on the specific legal framework. It might be necessary to get third-party certification if people want to make, for example, organic claims. People that practice organic agriculture, they want to make organic claims and they want to sell their produce. For example, here where I am in Germany, the EU, well, they need to get third-party certification. Yeah. So a farmer's market operating in Germany that wants to make claims that this is an organic market has to require that all the producers operating there, exhibitors selling at the market, they need to have third-party organic certification. PGS are not simple. Yeah, actually, these are very complex, knowledge and interaction intensive social processes. This is very important to keep in mind, because whenever people say, okay, how do I start? How can we move this forward? There's no set of steps to just go in and tick the boxes and then everything will be done. No, it takes time. And that's the other thing. PGS are not quickly operational. Yeah, they require time to develop, yeah, so that the people involved can build their capacity, so that the system can actually evolve together with the people that are benefiting from them. And when we think about how to fund those processes, it's always important to consider that it takes time and resources. As I said, PGS are not one size fits all. They are very unique and locally adapted, but this is actually one of the strengths of PGS. This is what makes them so resilient in the long term, is that they are adapted to the community implementing them. And the last very important point, PGS are not just about certification. We have talked a lot about that already, generating a specific kind of guarantee, the 3 elements that correspond also to what third-party certification is. And PGS has all of that and can achieve the same objective, no? Of generating, for example, organic guarantee quality for produce. But it's not just about that. And those benefits, we will also try to bring them up in the conversation today. So the next slide, you will see a map. As I mentioned, iFarm Organics International has been maintaining information about PGS initiatives all over the world. And all the little dots you see, the markers you see around there everywhere, they are representing different initiatives operating PGS for organic agriculture, or in some cases, they refer specifically to agroecology and not organic agriculture. In Latin America, especially, there's a strong discussion around that. No? If people are agroecological or if they are organic, and if organic is for export or an agroecology is not. But in this map, you will see people, organizations represented that try to bring these 2 movements as in one.
I'm gonna make the same comment I made earlier. There's nothing in the US or Canada. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, as I said, there's one initiative. It's called Certified Naturally Grown. They specifically don't use organic or agroecology to avoid any issues with the competent authority for organic agriculture in the US. They have developed their own standards for organic. And they operate a very interesting system. CNG, if you look it up, they have probably about 600 farmers that are certified organic or certified naturally grown.
Nothing in Scandinavia, like BLSS.
Yeah, exactly.
What's up with that? Can you make a comment?
That's actually an area we are not sure. Maybe people have different approaches, or they are just not sharing information. As I said, this is based on information that iFarm has been collecting. It definitely does not represent the whole picture, because initiatives can voluntarily contribute or not. They can decide not to be part of this database for whatever reason. I would love if everyone just joined in and we could have a better picture. But actually, I think what also happens is that many initiatives are practicing some kind of participatory certification. They don't call it like that, or they are afraid that maybe they are not formal enough to join this database, or they have a different approach. But that's a very interesting point. Anyway, what we have here there is also related to the legal framework that sometimes doesn't allow different approaches than third-party certification for organic guarantee. That's pretty much the case in the US, I think. So when it comes to how PGS are implemented, as I said earlier, each PGS is very unique, but there are some elements that essentially make a PGS what it is. I'm not going to discuss the 6 elements that have been identified by a group of international experts that also helped develop the definition I came up with. Let's go more into the practical approach of, what happens if you are implementing PGS with a group of people, for example, at the market. Here I use this illustration from Kilimo High Organic, is the organic logo that is used in East Africa. 4 countries have joined in a project to develop a certification system for organic in that region. And this is a nice illustration that shows a bit how PGS is actually very circular. Yeah, so it always starts from a group of people coming together and very horizontally, in a very democratic way, with a lot of talks and conversation, people from different backgrounds that are interested and share one vision for how they want their future to be, or how they want their livelihoods to look like, or what kind of food system they want to build together. They discuss on that, they agree on the rules that everyone should follow and who should be involved how. No? They agree on all these different points, and then start basically with a process of checking that the farmers, here we're talking about organic agriculture, that the farmers are able to implement practices that are important in order to make organic claims, or to say we are adopting organic practices. And the way this is checked is through what we call peer reviews. It can also be group interviews. It can assume different aspects, but the classic approach in PGS is peer reviews, in which you have a group of people, normally another producer, maybe a consumer, and maybe someone from an extension agency, or an NGO that supports organic agriculture or agroecology, or just rural development in that specific setting, or a market manager joining this group and going to the farm, visiting the farm, talking to the farmer to understand what he or she is practicing, and how they are dealing with their challenges. And they use for that a document, which is normally a checklist. It could be just a set of closed questions to ask and mark yes or no, but it could also be just a guide on areas to observe in the farm, issues to flag, and so on. And after this visit, they come out with a report that everyone signs. So the farmer that has received a visit is also looking at that and saying, yes, I agree with that. And all of that information is recorded. This is very important. And it's gathered in and discussed maybe at another group meeting. You see the group coming together and meeting comes often in that drawing, when they decide on the certification. And the decision, for example, if you bring it to the context of a farmer's market, it could also be the decision to accept a new farmer who is joining that market and say, okay, we have visited the farmer, we have seen they're operating according to our vision for the farmer, so we can accept it. And this farmer is now part of our crowd. And then maybe they get a certificate that they can put on their stall at the market, or they can also get access to a specific logo to use in their produce if they are selling labeled produce. Now, so this is a very, very quick crash course on PGS implementation. One thing that is important to mention is that when we talk about this participatory governance and sharing a vision, normally that also comes with the idea of writing down what this vision is and making a commitment to that vision. Yeah? So that ultimately checking what the farmers are doing is a way of confirming that this commitment that was taken is just being sustained. So for the conversation with you, with members here today, I wanted to try and highlight a bit 3 points about PGS implementation. The first, motivation. No? So what was the reason? Why did they decide to adopt this approach? And then the second one, challenges. No? What are the main difficulties? And how did they address them? And as a third point, positive impact, the benefits. Who benefits and how? We have 2 people contributing to the conversation today. In both cases, PGS have been adopted in the legal framework of the countries the speakers are coming from as approaches that are recognized as approaches to certify organic agriculture. But it's very important to say that this recognition came in both cases long after PGS or participatory certification had been implemented already and practiced by the organic agriculture, agroecological movements in those countries. So it's very exciting, and the case is.
I also have I'm sure you saw, Flavia, I've got a bunch of photos from both Victor and Mark to show. So I will share screen as they tell me to. So I'm the technician here, okay?
Great. Thanks a lot for that. Yeah, so I think it would be interesting to hear from Mark first, if you could share, because you have long experience in PGS implementation, managing PGS and working with the market, working with an association that developed PGS too. I would really like to hear from you about challenges, on PGS implementation, if you can share a little bit with us.
You're muted. Of course, somebody has to be muted to make this a Zoom meeting.
All right.
You go.
Well, about the challenges. I think the main challenge we have had is to deal with the very, very poor and very, very let's say low formal education in the countryside in the areas that we are active here, because since the system is requires a lot of transparency to society, because whatever we do in the group has to be registered so that anybody from the outside of the group can check that we have been doing all the steps to generate the proper guarantee. This means this requires quite a lot of bureaucracy, quite a lot of filling papers, making annually making a organic management plan. So for an illiterate farmer or a farmer with very, let's say, sometimes it's not a matter of illiteracy, but people are not used. It's not the language that's common in the countryside. The language is the communication is much more, oral, not so much written, So this has been quite a challenge, how to include everybody. And
we're talking about difficulties basically with record keeping, that maybe farmers or producers are not so used to keeping records and writing down what they do, or basically maintaining that kind of information. That's challenging.
Yes, and the government requires quite a lot of information, because that's how the law rules. And this is also a challenge for our association, who organizes the system, because the organization has to always be improving their forms. There are a lot of forms, and forms for different situations. And so this is quite a challenge for the organization too, how to finance this work of creating forms and archiving, registering and archiving, and being able to show to the Brazilian Ministry of Agriculture that we have done all the steps. This has been one problem. The other problem, I think, is sometimes when we are applying trying to generate the guarantee through participation, sometimes we focus only on the technicalities. We focus on how to fulfill the law, how to fulfill the formal requirements, and sometimes we forget the inspiration. that is the essence of the organic farming, is the essence of the ecology movement, how that we are here to transform society, to create justice, social justice, to create better cooperation with nature, to be more in peace with nature. And sometimes we have not managed to focus on that, which is our main duty. We're involved in a lot of forums and forget our main duty here. So in Brazil, there's the agroecology movement that sometimes is is not really prioritizing the certification and the participatory generation of guarantee, because the most important thing is to try to create these necessary changes against general oppression that we have in the society, right? Yeah, so more or less that. Yeah.
And if I can just ask a little bit more specifically about challenges, one of the, say, advantages of having a participatory approach to certification is that you can, in theory at least, bring in people who are not just the ones involved in production, but also the ones that benefit from the results of production, so they can have a different perspective on what it means now for that specific guarantee. Is that something that has been possible in your initiative? Did you actually manage to involve consumers in the PGS?
Not much, no, not much. Very difficult, very difficult. First of all, because we live in a very countryside area, very remote, and the dirt roads are terrible, and there are not many, consumers that want to do that, or they don't even know that they can or they should. This information has not reached them either. And then for this, sometimes we have had some interactions with the consumers, but sometimes their world is very far apart from the reality of production. For example, we have to sack the peaches with paper sacks so that we don't get fruit flies on the peaches. And then one of our clients said, "But poor birds, they don't have access to the peaches anymore." So there's like a whole cultural shock when you try to involve consumers. That for a farmer to participate in the system, the farmer has to be able to handle four basic documents. So I think that for a consumer, that would be also be a requirement. It's not easy for the consumer just to come in the group and visit the farmer and be a vote just like the other farmers, because you have to have a minimum level of information so that everybody is equal in the assessment of the conformity of the guarantee. So this requires some work, to participate. Normally, when a farmer joins the group, the farmer first have to participate in 2 visits and 2 meetings, and I also have to read these four documents. The law, the association documents, and so it's quite. And then the farmer is able to vote. Then the farmer is able to generate the guarantee just like any other farmer. So for a consumer to be able to do that, the consumer would really have to spend some time, in order to have the same level of information that's required for any farmer to also generate the guarantee. So we have, in our local situation here in the mountains of Rio, we have not been able to do that. But it's not also that we have had any initiative, any proactivity to do it. It also because we are farmers, we have a lot of stuff to do, and it just has not happened.
So we go back to the issue with capacity building, no? And but I always like to remember that producers involved in a system like that, they are consumers themselves. So ultimately, if we just open up our perspective a little bit, we can say that, you know, it's still a very inclusive system. But yeah, thanks a lot, Mark. I think that helps to give a good idea on the kinds of challenges that PGS implementation brings, in even more in cases when you get to government recognition, which, you know, can be something positive and challenging as well. Let's maybe hear a little bit from Victor also now from Mexico, and then we can continue the exchange. Victor, in your case, if I understand correctly, your initiative is not within the official governmental PGS, but you have been implementing it as well. So maybe you could just share a little bit about the benefits or the positive impact that PGS has brought in the markets in the initiatives you have been involved.
Well, here in Mexico, there's the organic law. So it has this segment talking about like participatory certification. We don't call it like PGS. We call it organic participatory certification. And so there's a set of rules, and well, according to law also, well, you can have organic crops being grown in a monoculture, just substituting like elements and stuff. So the law that we have here in Mexico allows big companies to get in and do whatever they want. And well, that's one of that's an important piece of information about our context. And one of the biggest challenges we've had is like how to set it up at the market when it's like in the first years of the market, because you don't have enough produce. And as we've said before, like you don't have you need like technicians, you need consumers. According to the organic participatory certification here in Mexico, you need like this well, everything you said, all this paperwork that needs to be done. And you need technicians, you need consumers, and you need managers of markets involved. Here we're trying to do the same basically, but we don't call it like participatory certification, which is like it's our PGS, and it's not regulated by law. So because they regulate like participatory certification, you know. So we're doing our own PGS, and well, we're trying to set it up at the market, because since I've said before, at the beginning, it's hard to get like a farmer's market being organic 100%. So there's people coming that sells cookies or that sell like things that are like good produce, that is good produce, but it's not organic. So you might want to, if you don't have like a cookie provider, you might want to have them in your market because it's a good produce. Like it's better than whatever you can have at the supermarket, you know? So at our market, in the rules we established, that people will, since the beginning, that's something that we had like at the beginning of our regulations, that when we were writing them, that all the vendors would be like, they were allowing us to get them into this internal control system, you know? So we call it like that. And right now we're like, we visit farms, we follow like, we go to their storage room, we check the things they use. We're checking and looking at what they're selling at the market. And well, it's always good to have all backed up with pictures and videos and everything. And we integrate that into social media as well, because it serves as a, I mean, people want to know like where they're buying. So it's not so much about the logo or about the seal that you can have, is to let people know what's going on at the farm. And we have some farmers, for example, that are not organic or according to law, because just they moved into a new place. And so this place used to be like using chemicals and everything. So according to law, you must like spend like 3 or 4 years like cleaning the soil and everything. But they're doing a great conservation work with seeds and everything. They're not using pesticides anymore. They're doing their compost, but they haven't spent their 3 years already. So we want to highlight those efforts by farmers as well. So right now we're like trying to build. It's not like fully finished yet. We're still doing it like all the information gathering so we can have it like on point. But the idea is to have them all with QR codes where we will tell them, you know, like this cookie maker, for example, like she gets produce, like maybe the wheat is organic, but not the sugar, not the cinnamon, not this. Have pictures of the operation point or the farm, if it's a farm, and maybe like highlights all the good things you're doing. Maybe we don't want to like have anybody like talk about just organic or not organic. We don't call ourselves an organic market, but it's part of our spirit and our vision. So we're trying to make vendors get into the process of buying organic and from local farmers as well, if they're like processors. So it's all the work that you do, like to get all the information put so they can like look who's providing the ingredient they need for the produce. So that's our goal, to have all the information. We're having instead of having the format that you have when you're like an inspector visiting a farm, that you're just like filling information and stuff, we're gonna have the questionnaire online so farmers can do it on their own. Like they tell us the information, because it's much more effective for a team in the operation of the market, because otherwise you need a lot of people, and maybe if you're beginning with this, you cannot afford to have all that. So we're getting all these questionnaires online, so they will fill them out, and we're gonna visit the farms, but include visitors, just like an agritourism visit. So everybody's gonna enjoy and spend a day like in the middle of the farm and everything. And it's more like open for people. We have the questionnaire, we have the information, we get the pictures, and then at the market, we're gonna have them all like with this QR codes. So in those QR codes, we're gonna include like these people like have a seed bank. That's a good thing. We're gonna also try to include like residues, because that's something like maybe you don't always take into consideration with organic, just like labeling. But we're gonna also like, for example, if a food vendor sells sauces or jelly or whatever in plastic bottles or glass bottles, if they can get the bottle back from the consumer and then like cleaning and not like sending to waste. So all those good practices we're gonna highlight and have them in this QR code.
If I may interrupt you there, Victor, this is great. I mean, there are so many practical ideas of the benefits of actually properly collecting and decoding in a way, using the information that you collect in the process of checking that the agreement that the producers that are part of the market, they agree to to fulfill. Decoding that their practices and then showing that to the consumers is actually one of the benefits of carrying out a system like that, a guarantee process. And I have to just briefly share with you that in this survey I recently did with slow food earth markets, the main motivation, because now we're already talking a little bit about why would you do all that extra work unless it's required by law that you if you want to make organic claims, but if not, we're talking about a market. Why would a market start a PGS? And basically in the earth markets run within the slow food network, the idea was to use PGS as a way to improve the governance of the market. So just to integrate this process, these different steps to collect information on new farmers coming in, to maybe visit them once to see how they're operating, to invite consumers also to take part in those visits, but with a sort of a social gathering component, and putting all of that together into a system and to better manage the market, to have a better overview of how things are done. This could be a way to see PGS as well. And it is a lot of work in any case. I think you will always have to deal with a lot of information, but then depending on how you collect this information and how you decode it and use it for communication, you can make it a little bit simpler or more adapted to your reality. But Mark also mentioned it. Now we always have to look at our documents again and adapt them and revise them and make sure everyone can use them better.
I think
a lot of things came up, yeah.
Maybe share, so Mark and Victor have some photos. Maybe you spend a minute or so to explain. I try to make a collage so you can see PGS process in action maybe. Is that okay, Flavia? So we can start with Mark. I try to put your photos into 2 slides, and same for Victor. And I think Peter also from Canada has a lot to share. So we will open up the floor. But Mark, do you want to illustrate what these photos are?
Yes. The first one here on the top left is a meeting. I mean a visit. We do frequent visits once per year, sometimes twice per year on every farmer. And this one happened at our farm. And so as you can see, it's quite a big gathering, and we have nice food and nice organic stuff, the fruits from the farm. So this it's very nice because farmers are very isolated, especially in the mountains, and organic farmers even more so. So it's a nice feeling, it's a nice gathering of people that think the same, have some similarities in thoughts. And so it's more than generating the guarantee. It's also, having a social gathering as well. And here on the right, if you go clockwise, it's some workshops we do while we do the visits in order to promote more awareness of ecology and the health of the soil. So this woman that's kneeling down, she is our present coordinator, and she is doing a workshop on the drainage of the soil, with water, and how to classify the different soils in terms of texture. And then on the bottom left, it's a view of our farm during one of these visits. Yeah.
I think the geography, mountainous geography, it's very powerful how geography dictates everything. And here's some more.
Yes. On the left here is Thiago knows this feira, this market. It's a farmers market in Teresópolis. That's very associated with the organic, with the participatory system of guarantee. So it's a very interesting market. I think it's very authentic. It's very direct, and they have also a lot of cultural stuff in it, which attracts a lot of public. You know, the mountains also attract tourists, so a lot of tourists like to go to the market as a sort of a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's not only to purchase food, but it's also to talk and to listen to some nice music as well. And here on the right-hand side is another visit to agroforestry. So we have different, you know, different situations that we have to visit and generate the guarantee. So again, you see the amount of farmers that show up for a visit like that. I mean, it's not required. It's not required that amount of people. You know, if we had only two people visiting, would be enough according to the Brazilian law. But you know, it's as I said, it's a social meeting, social gathering. It's nice. You learn stuff. You also exchange seeds and saplings and cuttings. Yeah, so people like to go. Yeah, and here on the bottom is the city council of the biggest city here in our area. We had a public. It was a meeting of the city council where the public could bring their own opinions and demands.
Public
And
hearing.
hearing, yes, a public hearing, yes. And so we are there demanding for a city policy for to support organic farming and agroecology. So the participatory system helps us to organize ourselves and have a voice in society as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I think we were saying earlier, or every studio for that matter, it's about building trust among the participants and at the market. And that's what we see here too. Mexico, Victor.
Yeah, well, this is
I put them in two different slides. Yeah.
okay, we're going to the first. This is El Gilote is not like it's like a participatory certification committee that we had before what we're developing now. And it's really inspired by this. We were building this Gilote group, but it's not, instead of being only a committee from the market, this, in order to create like a certification committee that worked locally beyond the market, we tried to include like people from consumer co-op and also from another NGO. So together we built El Gilote. So we started like visiting some farmers and we developed the system according to law. So that's a kind of certificate they had. And this certificate does like say about like, it's much more integrated to the law. In fact, this group used to be, well, is getting the certification from the federal government right now. But it's kind of working slow and it's not being helpful to the market right now. It's not meeting the needs that we have right now because the group, since they are from different organizations, it works slowly. And so we're using this sign technique, which I mean, they're friends, and we want to develop this this system throughout the state. So right now we're taking into consideration all the knowledge because we also helped build it. We worked with this group for quite a long time. So right now we're using some of their processes, including this QR code. And that's why we're building it, but into our own system. So these are like some farmers that are part of our market that were certificated by El Gilote. So here you see them with their certificate on the table. And then the next, yeah, you can go to the next. And well, there are different visits that we had, like different farms. like filling the questionnaire and everything. So all that we're taking it away. So farmers will like build the, I mean, they will fill out the whole information by themselves. But here in the pictures, you see us filling out questionnaires and stuff. So we're doing it like more enjoyable. We're like, instead of having like this tiresome visits where you just like fill out information and blah, blah, blah. We're just like integrating like consumers and having like a day at the farm. We go visit, we check whatever the farmer filled out at the questionnaire. So we just double check without like the need to go through boring technical aspects for everybody.
Thank you so much. Well, we got 2 minutes. I wish I had 10 more minutes to put Peter from Canada on the spot. But I think that for speak, so I'm hearing a lot of training needs as a farmers market, manager, and also as World Farmers Market Coalition capacity building, position. And I also want to ask all three of you one quick answer. We have 1 minute, so 20 seconds each. If I'm a market who has never done this before, where do I start? What do you recommend I start? Flavia.
I would recommend try to talk to people that are already doing it and maybe copy them a little bit and try a little pilot maybe at your market. That would be my recommendation.
We have, not everybody's doing this within the membership for Coalition, but enough of us are doing it. So we have friends to talk to. Mark, what would you recommend? One thing.
Well, if it's a country that has a legal a law about it, you don't have much choice. You have to adapt and follow the law. But if it's not, I think it's an important work. It's you can start making a law, start putting pressure on the government so that people can claim that the products are organic without having to have a third part certifying it. Yeah.
Thank you. And Victor,
Oh,
think about
I
how you
would
started.
say, yeah, I would think about it as a slow process that will take time. And don't want to implement it like in 1 year because it's not going to be possible. And try to tell the vendors at the market that it's something that they need, even if it's not organic, whatever they're selling. Because people usually, like maybe if you don't call yourself like an organic market, people go there looking for that information. And if you don't have that system, people will chat among themselves, and some farmers will then say like, oh, that's not organic, or this guy or whatever, and it creates like a lack of trust in consumers. So just educate the vendors at the market that it's something that it's useful for everybody in order to create trust, even if they don't sell organic. Just like tell people you're not selling organic, and they might bite the cookie or whatever, but but it's not organic, and just be honest.
Okay, meet them where they are. Start by being honest and start building trust. Yes, thank you, Peter. That's one of our magic of the coalition. In the earlier session, we have Vietnam and Morocco talking with Flavia about their work in this. Also, we have, Sri Lanka, Barcelona, Slovu Barcelona. She's not here right now, but, there's plenty other organizations and folks within our coalition who do this. So you have a great starting point by chatting them up. And now we got Flavia as one of our friends. Thank you so much for being here. And I know this is a precious time. And Tiago, you dropped so many awesome pictures also of Mark's farm and your wife. Thank you so much. We will share the slides and the recording. You will hear from us, and let us know if there's any follow-up conversation you'd like to have about PGS, or just, I will quote this, PGS or participatory certification, think of it as a tool to start building trust at your market. And we will hear from you another time, Peter. Thank you for all the helpful information you dropped here in the chat from British Columbia, Canada. Have a great week. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye.